I always wait for that fish finger, and then there it is. It's so fast, and stuff just goes flying by, and you miss it. Oh, but that's what happens when you get into the off-air conversations. And the off-air conversations turn to on, which sounds like we get to have the rest of ours here. So I've got with me in studio Representative Adam Schnelting from the 69th District, running for the 23rd District.
That's correct.
In the state Senate.
23rd, yep. 23rd senatorial, that's right.
I've often said, big shoes to fill. I wish I could elect my state senator for a third time, but stupid term limits. Now we have to vote for him for governor or for something else. I can't have him as my state senator anymore. I have to share him possibly with the state. But there's a couple folks. There's actually, 4 in your race?
Yeah, there's 4 candidates
that have jumped in.
Right.
Absolutely. Right. And you've been my state rep for a couple of years now and have you remember the Freedom Caucus in the House?
Yes.
And you've been serving since 2018?
2018, that's right.
2018.
I'm in my third term, that's correct.
Absolutely. So I know that our Real Talk listeners, they've heard you before, you've been on the airwaves, but I wanted to make sure as we're doing this long march through till August 6th, that we get a chance to hear from everyone, to know who the options are, and to kind of hear what the vision for Missouri is, because, boy, have we had a lot of drama around Missouri in the legislature, the state convention. It has been a wild year. So I'd love to get some of your takes on that, but mainly just what are you doing? What are you running for Senate for, and what are your priorities? What are some of your major accomplishments you like to lean on from the time in the House? And I don't know, just cast your vision for me for why you're running and what we're doing here in the 23rd.
Yeah, no, well, first of all, thanks for having me on the program. I appreciate it, Ryan. You do a great job here, and love 93.3. They do a fantastic job here. But to answer your question, the reason I'm running for state Senate, I'm running for the same reason that I became an Army combat engineer, which is to defend our Constitution and our American way of life. I'm the only candidate in this race that is endorsed by the Missouri Right to Life, and I'm the only candidate in this race that's endorsed by the NRA. And the reason for that is because I've been absolutely relentless at protecting and defending the unborn and our Second Amendment rights in the state legislature over the last 6 years. I'm a husband, I'm a father, I'm a soldier, and as a conservative state representative, I have a track record of protecting kids and fighting the swamp. And that's really what this race boils down to, is fighting the swamp, which cannot stand me, and protecting our kids from woke ideology. That in a nutshell is why I'm running. I want to make sure that we continue to clean up Jefferson City and to make sure that we protect our kids.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know, you were one of the chief architects behind part of our Missouri pro-life legislation, which that was,
That's
what
right.
was that, 2020?
Yeah, that was 2019.
2019?
Yeah, I was the author of the Trigger Amendment.
That's right.
So the Trigger Amendment banned abortion on demand in the state of Missouri when Roe v. Wade was overturned. That was my legislation. I was the author of that. I've also passed legislation amending our state constitution to create the Missouri Department of National Guard, so that our military forces can have a more streamlined chain of command and a more streamlined budget process underneath the governor of the state of Missouri. So I've done some things in the legislature. Certainly am proud of my record there, and I want to continue that in the Senate as I also continue to fight the swamp and protect our kids.
Absolutely. Well, and this is to me, it definitely is indicative when someone's moving on, not because they have to, but because they want to. There's a calling there. There's something to do. And I know there's an open seat. It doesn't always open because of our term limit structure. But what are a couple of top priorities that you'd like to see happen in the Senate, on the Senate side, as you moving forward? You've, like I said, and you just mentioned, you have a long list of accomplishments, some really good stuff that Missourians are proud of. They may or may not know you were one of the names behind it, one of the chief architects of some of these things. But moving over to the Senate side, what are some of the primary goals you would like to see implemented there that you would attack first in your first term in office?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So several things. For one, I want to continue protecting life. I think the IP reform is a massive, it's massively important. And the fact that the legislature over the last 6 years, 5-6 years, has not tackled it and actually passed it is a travesty. And it's an epic failure on our part as a legislature. Many of us, it was our number one priority. We continue to push and push and push for it. We had issues with leadership in both chambers. And then, of course, obviously, what you saw with the epic breakdown of leadership in the state Senate. So IP reform is something that needs to happen. Our state constitution should not be, it's like the Declaration of Independence says. It says that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes. Well, what is a constitution but the charter of your government, the foundation of your government? So we need to ensure that our constitution, our state constitution, is not changed so easily. I also want to work on some other things. I want to make sure that we protect our elderly. I propose legislation protecting our elderly. We've got a problem in the elderly community. Many of our folks are going to be retiring or are retiring and will end up in homes. My mother was an example of someone who suffered neglect and abuse, and she ended up passing away last year. And so that's something that's near and dear to my heart. But really, you boil this down, I'm really also thinking about our kids. And I'm going to be a watchdog for our kids, like I was in the House. I'm going to continue to do that in the Senate. We have a problem on our hands where we've got folks who want to indoctrinate our kids in school with radical transgender ideology. And I want to make sure that we nip that in the bud in the state of Missouri. Our kids should be learning. They should be learning how to read, write, and do their math. And they should be learning how to function as an individual in society. They should not be taught all their various gender identity options while they're in school. That's something that should not be taught in public school. No. So I'm going to continue to protect our kids.
And that actually raises for me a couple of questions. I'm trying to remember. I remember going down the whole thing. We had there was the big fight, the hullabaloo over SB 727, and then I think it was HB 2287. I think if I've got that number right, I might. But the big education workforce development thing, primary and secondary education, that one had a lot of folks finally starting to look at the idea. Now, hold on. Are we just for school choice and moving government money from one place to the next? Or are we really looking at what gives us more educational freedom? What gives Missouri parents more options and less government intrusion into their lives? And what are we signing up for here? What are we looking at? So I just wonder on your philosophy on that. Do you think it's time to see some shifts in Missouri? I know we've got some wonderful homeschool laws, and there are a lot of people who are very happy, but I don't know. I'm trying to remember where you fell on that one, the vote through. We had a lot of good folks who voted for it, a lot of good folks who
absolutely.
Were kind of worried about it and wanted to pump the brakes. I don't remember where it fell.
I voted for it.
Okay.
I absolutely support school choice. Was it a perfect bill? No, absolutely not. But at the end of the day, it moved the needle to ensure that parents were able to have more options and kids were not going to be stuck in failing schools. And I think this boils down to children belong to their parents, not the government. And I also think it boils down to the fact that your tax dollars or our tax dollars, our tax revenue, it comes from somewhere. It comes from our pockets. And those dollars really ought to follow the child. So yes, I support school choice, absolutely. And you know what? Going back to what you were talking about, you were asking me about my time in the House. You probably heard the commercials the other day that that say that I am backed by Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, and Joe Biden.
I had someone want me to ask you about this. I haven't heard the ads, but apparently there's some radio ads going around against you that it's pretty nasty, and it sounds like it might be one of the same PACs that's going after Bob Onder and a couple others right now. What's the
it's
story
my opponent's
with that?
PAC. No, it's absolutely my opponent's camp.
Okay.
And no, what they're saying is they're saying that I am a proponent of defunding the police, which is amazing. It's a complete lie, especially given the fact that I actually voted to ensure that the movement to defund our police was prohibited in the state of Missouri. And I'm also endorsed by local law enforcement. So that one was very interesting to listen to such dishonesty in a commercial. It also claimed that I skipped votes, important conservative votes to protect children, which is hilarious, actually, coming from that camp. First of all, I didn't skip any votes. I was on active duty military orders with the Army. That, by the way, my opponent knew full well since he was there at the kind of the going away ceremony, if you will, in the House when we had a moment for me to discuss it before I left. Mm-hmm. But it also, like we were just discussing, also claims that I'm backed by the same mega donors of Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, and Joe Biden. That's just laughable. In my race, I have raised only $200,000, 65% of which comes from St. Charles County, Ryan. Now, Phil's camp has raised over, my opponent, Phil Cristofanelli, he's raised over 500, as of the last quarter. Now, this is going up greatly since this quarter. He's raised over $550,000. And of that $550,000, you know how much of it came from St. Charles County? About $16,000. So as of the last quarter alone, his campaign is funded by over 96% of his campaign is funded by Jefferson City, by the swamp. Some of that's Jeff City, and some of it's actually D.C., but it's not all from St. Charles County. And that's fascinating. the distraction, this ad is really just a distraction from his record. Phil is indebted to the swamp. And that's what this race is coming down to. The swamp doesn't like me because I am not beholden to them. They're betting on Phil because I'm not their guy. I'm not the guy that's going to be beholden to them. I'm going to be beholden to the people in St. Charles County. So, look, if you want more of the same, if you want more of the swamp, Phil's your guy. If you want a senator who's going to fight and be responsive to we the people, that's what I bring to the table. And people can learn more about that at my website at adamformo.com.
Yeah, I was going to say, give me a place, adamformo.com. You want to see more and hear more. I know Adam Schnelting for State Senate on Facebook as well. But this is, I think that you're really tapping on something there. This has become very interesting, the concern over funding sources and money, especially in state races. That I've started to see that become a big issue recently for a lot of voters. They want to know where your funding comes from, where the base is coming from for money, because they want to know, is someone trying to get this person installed, or is this a local movement? Is this a surge of support in our area, people who know him and are willing to put money on the line for him? And I've started to see that pop up in several states across the nation as being a big deal for voters.
Oh, absolutely, Ryan. So here's the deal. Look, you're going to be indebted to someone as a public official. I would much rather be indebted to my constituents, and I am indebted to my constituents. They've sent me there. I have a job to do. I have a role to play for them. I'm going to represent them well, like I have over the last 6 years. I intend to do that in the Senate. Or if you have an individual who is primarily funded by special interests, well, who do you think they're going to answer to? They're going to answer primarily to the special interests. And we've been seeing this surge among the grassroots over the last few years of folks really engaging, getting involved, contributing, even hosting fundraisers for candidates that they believe in. And I think that's pivotal, and that's going to be the new Republican Party. The days of this country club Republican is coming to an end, as it ought to. Our country is on the brink of utter disaster. And if we don't push back and push back fast, we can lose everything that we know and we love about America. So, I completely agree. People are more tuned into than they were before, and they are watching how our candidates are being funded.
Now, let me ask one question. I don't have to ask you about the state delegate issue. You had a post that was very clear on that. Stand with the grassroots, not the party bosses.
Absolutely.
So that one's out there publicly if anyone wanted to know, because that's one of the hot issues that I'm being asked. Yeah. Ask your people about this. Ask the guests. But I wonder, have you had a chance to dive in at all? I know that the National Republican Party platform has been the last 24 hours of hot news. It's, a lot of people complaining this is just a streamlined version. We gutted a lot of the very specific pro-life language and some other things. A lot of folks saying that's a given now. It's all right. We're moving forward with a campaign platform. Do you have any thoughts on that? Have you looked at it as one of the chief architects of, in my opinion, one of the most strongly pro-life states in the nation? I just wonder if you have any thoughts or worries about that, or if this is a sound tactic moving forward. Just a couple thoughts here before we end.
Yeah, and that's a great question. I have not seen that platform yet. I will say that we are the party of pro-life. If we ever lose that, I think it is a grave, grave mistake. If what they are doing is simply trying to kick the issue back to the states, I can understand to some extent what they may be trying to accomplish. But again, without me actually jumping into that and reviewing the platform changes myself, because I've not yet, it is kind of hard to comment on that. But I would caution the party, without a doubt, not to abandon such an important tenet of our party platform.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a big one that a lot of people are concerned about. I know, though, that there is a culture war that runs deeper than that, which is why I so appreciate you talking so much about wokeism and kids and what's being done, because we truly have lost the understanding, the historical knowledge, the common sense of generations now of kids who've grown up in the government schooling era. And we have work to do there before any kind of legislation we can do at the federal or state level will stick. We need to change hearts and minds, and that starts with kids. That starts with keeping our kids close to the families and understanding what's going on. So
absolutely. Look, if we don't fight for our kids, no one will. Our kids can't afford our silence.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, last thoughts. What do you want someone to know primarily if they are marking down their ballots and they are deciding now what they're going to do on August 6th? What's the last couple of things you want anyone to know about you going into that process as they're getting ready to weigh their votes out for the 23rd Senate District?
Absolutely. Look, I'm a conservative fighter. I've done it. I have a record of doing it over the last 6 years. This race comes down to a choice between a woke senator from St. Charles County or one who's going to be a conservative fighter for them. It's going to come down to someone who's going to protect their kids or someone who's going to be on the other side of all the issues that parents are concerned about as it pertains to their kids and indoctrinating their children. So I would encourage folks to go to my website, adamformo.com, and learn more. Reach out if you have any questions. We'd love to connect with you. I would just say look into the candidates and spend some time on the web, adamformo.com.
There you go. Representative Adam Schnelting running for the 23rd District, the Senate District out in St. Charles, looking to replace Bill Eigel, who we are unfortunately losing. Go and take a look, adamformo.com. We appreciate your service in the House. Appreciate you coming in today and giving us a little glimpse into the campaign. We wish you all the best.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Ryan.
Absolutely. All right, folks, we'll be right back on the other side of the break. You're on The Reckoning here, coming up on the final minutes.